Hello, welcome to Paxton Presbyterian Church. My name is Norm Daniels, and we're going to begin a new series in talking about our churchyard and the residents of our churchyard, and what I like to call stories with the stones. And so if we look over this way, we can see our current churchyard. And let me tell you a few things about it. One would be that we think that the churchyard dates back to in the late 1720s. And when we first had our log church, they buried people around our log church area, which is around where our parking lot is today. And when they built the stone church, they built it, they did have graves to the south and to the east. But in 1792, they built this stone wall that you see here today. And at that time, when they built the wall, they moved anybody that was outside the church that they could, outside the wall that they could identify, they moved them in here. But if they couldn't identify who the person was, they left them. So underneath our parking lot, probably to the east and the south, there are bodies buried, and they will be there for eternity. The early stone markers were wood, or they might have been unmarked. They also used fieldstone, marble, sandstone, and some of those inscriptions have since disappeared. In 1890, during our sesquicentennial, they made a list of all the headstones inscriptions that were readable, and we've used that a great deal to locate or read pretty much indecipherable stones here today. Our earliest mark, earliest grave that we know of right now that's marked, was of Mary Elder, the first wife of Reverend John Elder, who was just right in front of you here, the large tablet with the flag. She died on June 12, 1749. They buried people in an unusual way. You can see that that's a very large stone. There are actually 4 people under that stone. Reverend Elder, his 2 wives, each was named Mary, and a daughter, Grizzle. And when they dug a grave with the intention of having multiple people in it, they would dig the full grave, they'd put boards down, cover it with dirt, and then as each person died and would be interred, they would just lift the board for that section, put the person down, and cover it up. So they didn't have to redig the grave every single time. Our stone wall here, as you may see, has a cement cap that was added in 1908. Before that, there were shingles on top, because the greatest weakness a stone wall has is water turning to ice and water getting into the top of the stone wall and expanding with ice, and that'll break a wall down. And so they used shingles, but in 1908 they turned it into a cement top. In 1903, as we look here and we see all this open area. In 1903, in the trustees' minute book, it indicated that they were grading and reseeding this section, the old section we call Part C, and they found, I'm going to quote, many small rough limestones without inscription or date, varying in size from 6 to 12 inches in height, are exposed to view. These stones occur at a very irregular intervals and were intended only as temporary markers until permanent inscribed tombstones should take their places. This never having happened, the lapse of time and the removal of families has rendered it impossible for anyone now living to tell whose graves these markers designate. In view of these facts, all such stones to be lowered grade. End of quote. And so in all these open areas, there are probably those limestone markers. In late winter, I found that if I came back here, the way the grass was and the sun was, I could see depressions of unmarked graves. So we've begun to mark those. and with the hope that maybe eventually we can find who those people could be. And as we see, and just as we know that Reverend Elder's mother and father are buried here, but we don't know where, but I'm going to assume it's in an open area around their grave. In 1865, a corner of our graveyard, which would be right in front of you, that far corner, there is a section 50 feet by 100 feet set aside as a burying ground for, quote, interring all strangers who die in employment of members or contributors. Strangers would be the key word for former enslaved people. And down there, there's actually several graves there, which we will look at in a future presentation. I will tell you that we have approximately 1,100 people interred here. This is an ancient cemetery, but it's still an active cemetery, and we just had an interment here within the last few days. And so this, as I said, is the first of a number of different presentations we'll make on the cemetery. And so thank you for watching. This is Norman Daniels at Paxton Presbyterian Church. Join us at our website at paxtonchurch.org, and you can see some information on our history. You can see former church services, and you can live stream our service every Sunday at 10:15. God bless you. Have a great day.